I was still shaking from chemo when I realized my son was not coming. The clinic lobby had gone quiet in that way places do when the day is almost over. A nurse pushed a cart past me. The receptionist lowered her voice. My paper bag of medicine sat in my lap, and my hands would not stop trembling. He had promised he would be there after treatment. So I waited. At first, I made excuses for him. Traffic, work, a dead phone, one more emergency that somehow mattered more than his mother sitting under fluorescent lights with a scarf tied around her head. Then my phone buzzed, a family screenshot. "She wants to be left alone after chemo," my son had written. "Don't crowd her." I read those words twice. I had not asked to be left alone. I had asked to be picked up. Welcome to Family Rise Tales. Tell me where you are watching from tonight and what time it is there. If you are listening late, take care of your rest. Stories can wait, but your health should not. I did get home that evening, but I did not sleep. Because later, when I opened my old auto-pay binder, I found his bills still moving like clockwork, and one notice with my name on it. But not only my future. My name is Althea Parker. At 68, I had lived in Charleston, South Carolina, long enough to know that a pretty street can still hide a hard season behind every door. Before cancer came back, I worked more than 30 years in public school cafeterias. Not as the lady who just scooped mashed potatoes, though I did plenty of that too. I was the nutrition supervisor. I counted milk cartons, checked delivery sheets, stretched tight budgets, and made sure hungry children did not have to announce it to the room. There is a special kind of shame in being hungry where everybody can see. I spent my life trying to keep children from feeling that. A school kitchen teaches you things no office ever could. Children can smell extra dessert faster than grown folks smell trouble. A quiet child at the end of the line may be asking for help without using a word. So I learned to write things down. Every date, every amount, every promise made by a person who said, "Don't worry, Mrs. Parker, it will be handled." That is where my binder came from. It was old yellow with a cracked spine and paper tabs I cut myself. Years ago, it held lunch invoices and produce orders. After I retired, it held my own life. Insurance, utilities, medicine, church pledges, the help I gave family when they hit a rough patch. I never thought of it as evidence. I thought of it as order. By early 2026, order was harder to keep. Prices had climbed so quietly that everybody acted surprised when the grocery receipt looked like a bad joke. Gas cost too much. Medicine cost too much. Retirement money did not stretch the way people on television kept claiming it should. Then my cancer came back. Breast cancer again. I will not dress that up for you. Chemo made food taste like pennies. Some mornings my fingers shook before I reached for the kettle. Some nights, the smell of anything fried made me breathe like a tired child. But I was still me. I was not helpless. I was not confused. I was a woman with a medicine schedule on the refrigerator, a navy scarf over thinning hair, and a binder that could tell you where every dollar had gone. My son, Quentin Parker, knew that about me. He knew it better than anyone. Quentin was 43 then, selling commercial kitchen equipment on commission. Some months were good, Some months punished him. Restaurants delayed orders. Schools repaired old equipment instead of buying new. He had a mortgage, a truck payment, utilities behind, and a storage unit full of equipment from a business idea that had not turned into what he promised. I understood pressure. I had raised him through pressure. His wife, Sabrina, would call and soften her voice. "Mama Althea, we just need a little breathing room." That was her phrase. A little breathing room. At first, it was one bill, then another. Truck insurance just until Quentin's commission came in. The family phone plan, because Janelle needed her phone for school and choir. A utility arrangement, because nobody wants a child doing homework in a dark house. A choir fee, because my granddaughter had a voice that made old women in church forget their knee pain. Janelle was 16, sweet, careful, always trying not to ask for too much. I paid that choir fee gladly. I would have paid it again. What I did not understand was how quickly help can become a chair someone sits in, then a room they refuse to leave. I told myself Quentin was tired. I told myself Sabrina was scared. I told myself families carry each other when the road gets steep. And that is true. But carrying someone is not the same as letting them stand on your back. My friend Doris Langley tried to warn me before I was ready. Doris had kept church books for years. One afternoon, she brought ginger tea and sat at my kitchen table while I marked treatment days in blue ink. She looked at my binder. Then she looked at the ride schedule on my refrigerator. Her eyes narrowed. Not mean, just awake. "Althea," she said, "why does your son's life have more due dates in your kitchen than your treatment does?" I laughed because I did not want to answer. Then she touched one page with her finger. "Baby," she said, softer now, "why is Quentin too busy for chemo? But his bills still know how to find you." The first bill I paid for Quentin did not feel like a warning. It felt like being a mother. He called me one Thursday evening while I was stirring soup on the stove, unsure whether my stomach could handle broth or only crackers. His voice had that tired edge men use when they want help, but do not want to say the word. "Mama, my commission is late. I hate asking." That was all it took. I remembered being young with a child asleep in the next room and a light bill sitting on the counter like it had teeth. I remembered counting coins for gas and smiling at Quentin so he would not learn fear too early. So I paid his truck insurance. Just 1 month. Then Sabrina called about the phone plan. Janelle needed her phone for school, choir messages, and rides after practice. Sabrina said, "Mama Althea, we just need a little breathing room." A little breathing room can sound harmless when a child is in the middle of it. Then came utilities, the storage unit, and a bridge toward the mortgage for another month because he said, "I'm trying to keep my family standing." I understood that sentence. Maybe that was the problem. I understood it so well that I did not hear the other sentence hiding underneath it. Keep us standing, even if you are sitting alone. By March, my treatments had started taking more from me than I admitted. Some mornings I stood at the sink and waited for my own hands to remember what steady felt like. Still, when Quentin said he would drive me to appointments, I believed him. The first time he came late, he kissed my forehead and blamed traffic. The second time, he texted, "Work went sideways." The third time, he sent nothing until after I had called Doris. I still defended him. "He's under pressure," I told her. Doris stirred her tea and gave me that look church women give when they love you too much to clap for nonsense. "Pressure doesn't make a man forget his mama every Wednesday," she said. "It just shows what he thinks won't leave." I did not answer, because part of me was angry, and part of me was ashamed that she might be right. That same week, an email notification came through while I was tying my scarf before a lab appointment. Truck insurance paid. Right beneath it, Quentin's message appeared. "Can't make it today, Mama. Work got crazy." I stood there with one hand on my scarf and one hand on the phone. The money had arrived for him. His mother had not. I tried to make that thought go away, but it stayed with me through the ride I arranged myself. It sat beside me in the clinic chair. It followed me home and waited in the kitchen. Later, Phyllis Ward knocked with a jar of soup and a paper bag of saltines. "Made it light," she said. "Chemo is rude enough without my pepper joining in." I laughed because she wanted me to. Then she looked past me at the untouched pot on my stove and stopped smiling. "Quentin didn't bring dinner?" "He got tied up," I said. Phyllis nodded slowly, the way people do when they hear a lie but are too kind to call it by name. That night, I checked the church meal calendar. Quentin's name was under Wednesday dinner. Sabrina's phone number was beside it. No one had come. But the next morning, another payment cleared. Storage unit. The storage unit bothered me most, though I did not know why yet. Quentin had told me months earlier he had cleared it out. He said the equipment was sold, the space was closed, one less thing hanging over him. But there it was. Paid. Again. I sat at the kitchen table and stared at that line until the numbers blurred. That was the first time I wondered whether my help had stopped being help at all. Maybe it had become furniture in Quentin's house, something he expected to be there, something he walked around without seeing. Sabrina called 2 days later. Her voice was soft. "Mama Althea, Janelle's choir has a spring fee coming up. We didn't want to bother you with everything you're going through." But she had bothered me. She had only wrapped the bother in concern. I said, "How much?" She paused long enough for me to hear relief before she named the amount. I paid it. Not for Sabrina, not even for Quentin. I paid it because Janelle had a voice that could lift the roof off a tired room, and I was not going to let poor planning steal music from a child. Still, something inside me shifted. A mother knows when generosity stops warming the house and starts feeding a secret. The next Sunday, Janelle did not call after church. I waited until evening, then told myself teenagers get busy. At almost 9, my phone lit up with a voicemail. Her voice was small. "Grandma, Dad said you don't want visitors while you're sick. Did I do something wrong?" I sat there in the dark kitchen, the yellow binder still closed on the table, and for the first time, I understood Quentin was not only hiding bills, he was hiding me. I did not call Quentin that night. A younger woman might have. She might have shouted into the phone, asked him why his daughter sounded wounded, asked him what kind of son lets a sick mother become a rumor in her own family. But age teaches you something anger never does. If you speak too soon, people remember your tone and forget what they did. So I sat in my kitchen until the house settled around me. The refrigerator hummed. Janelle's voicemail still sat on my phone like a small broken bird. I listened to it once more. Then I put the phone face down. The yellow binder was in the lower cabinet, behind old cake pans. When I pulled it out, dust marked my fingers. The spine cracked a little, as if it was tired of holding other people's business, too. I set it on the table. For a while, I only looked at it. That binder had been with me through school lunch audits, and children who needed an extra biscuit slipped onto their tray. I had trusted those pages because paper did not flatter you. Paper did not say it was busy. Paper did not ask you to understand. Paper waited. I opened the first tab. Truck insurance. The page had my handwriting at the top and Quentin's policy number beneath it. I had written temporary beside the first payment. I had been sitting in that same chair, telling myself a mother could help without becoming a fool. The next page said otherwise. Payment after payment. My red pen was still clipped inside the binder. I took it out and circled the last date. That was the same week Quentin had missed my lab appointment. I turned another tab. Phone plan. There was Janelle's line, Sabrina's line, Quentin's line, all sitting under my card. I remembered Sabrina saying the phone was for school, for choir messages, for safety. She had not been wrong. That was what made it harder. A lie that borrows something true can walk right through your front door. I circled another date, then another. By the time I reached the utility arrangement, my hand had stopped shaking. Not because I was calm, because I was focused. There is a difference. I laid my treatment calendar beside the binder, blue ink for appointments, red circles for money. The 2 pages stared at each other like witnesses. Chemo week, paid. Missed ride, paid. No dinner brought, paid. I whispered, Lord, let me see straight. A knock came at the back door. Doris Langley did not wait for me to pretend I was fine. She came in carrying ginger tea, crackers, and that look of hers that could peel wallpaper. You didn't answer my text, she said. I was busy. She looked at the binder. Busy found you, I see. I almost closed it. Old habits are strong. Protect your child. Keep family matters inside. Do not let outsiders see the mess, even when the mess has been eating at your table for months. But Doris was not an outsider. Doris had counted church money for years and kept secrets better than most people kept receipts. So I pushed the binder toward her. She sat down slowly. This the old cafeteria binder? What's left of it? She touched the cracked cover. This thing has more tabs than a church lady has opinions. I laughed once, small and tired. Then she saw the red circles. Her face changed. Doris did not make a sound for a full minute. She read the pages the way some people read scripture, patient and serious, letting every line accuse only what it could prove. Althea, she said, why does his life have more due dates in your kitchen than your treatment does? I wanted to defend him. The words came to my mouth by habit. He's tired. He's trying. He's got a family. The economy is hard. Commission work is cruel. A mother understands. But Janelle's voice rose in my memory. Did I do something wrong? so I said nothing. Doris turned to the storage unit tab. My stomach tightened before I knew why. Quentin had told me that unit was cleared out. He said the old equipment was gone. The lease was closed. One less burden on everybody. But the payments were still there. Recent. Regular. Mine. Doris tapped the page with one finger. Didn't he say this was finished? I nodded. She looked at me over her glasses. Then why is it still eating? The kitchen felt smaller. I took the red pen and circled that date harder than I meant to. The paper dented under the point. For the first time, the binder did not look like order. It looked like a map, and every road led back to my account. I knew then I was checking the story he had told me. That night, Doris kept turning pages until she reached a section near the back, one I had not opened since before the cancer came back strong. Her hand stopped. The tab said, Life Insurance. A white envelope was tucked inside, unopened at the edge. Doris did not touch it right away. She only looked at me and said, Althea, why is there a premium notice in the same section as Quentin's bills? Doris did not open the life insurance envelope that night. She slid it back under the tab and pressed her palm over it like she was holding down a door. Not yet, she said. I was grateful. A woman can only discover so much betrayal before her body asks for mercy. So we started where paper was willing to speak plainly. Doris took out her old calculator. It was gray, fat, and loud enough to sound like a tiny judge each time she pressed a button. Click, truck insurance. Click, family phone plan. Click, utility arrangement. Click, storage unit. Click, choir fee. Click, mortgage help. She did not add commentary. That was what made it worse. Doris had kept church books too long to confuse feelings with totals. When she turned the calculator around, I looked away. Althea, she said, you need to see it. I did. The total was more than I had admitted to myself. Not one terrible theft. That would have been easier to hate. This was worse because it had manners. It came dressed as temporary help, family pressure, a child's need, a hard economy. One more month. Over $2,000 a month. From a retired woman in treatment. I put my hand flat on the table. Doris reached for me, then stopped. She knew I did not want pity. I wanted the room to stop spinning. I offered, I whispered. Yes, she said. You offered help. You did not offer to disappear. That sentence stayed in my kitchen like another person. The next morning, I called the oncology clinic. My voice sounded too polite. Naomi Clark answered after the front desk transferred me. Mrs. Parker, she said, I was hoping you would call. Something in that worried me. I asked about transportation assistance. I said it lightly, as if I was planning ahead, not as if I had stopped trusting the person who was supposed to come. Naomi did not make me explain more than I could. We have a patient ride list, she said, and vouchers for treatment days when family cannot provide transportation. There was no judgment in her voice. I asked whether my record showed anything about missed pickups. She was careful, professional, respectful. I can speak generally about transportation notes you gave us permission to discuss, she said. There have been several delays, more than one no response from your emergency contact. Enough that staff noticed you were waiting. Staff noticed. My son had written that I wanted privacy. The clinic had noticed I was waiting. Those truths sat side by side, and only one had looked me in the face. Naomi lowered her voice. "Mrs. Parker, you do not have to sit alone because somebody promised and forgot." I closed my eyes. "Thank you," I said. After that call, I phoned Pastor Angela Cross. I only asked about the care ministry meal calendar. She hesitated. That told me more than an answer would have. "Pastor," I said, "I am not asking you to accuse anybody. I am asking what was written down." Paper again. Always paper. Pastor Angela sighed softly. "Quentin signed up for 2 Wednesday dinners. One was canceled by text. The other, Sabrina said you were resting and did not need visitors." I looked at the pot I had left untouched days before. I had needed food. I had needed company. I had needed somebody to knock. Instead, people had been told I preferred absence. Phyllis Ward came by before supper with soup and cornbread wrapped in foil. "I seasoned it light," she said. "Chemo is rude enough without my pepper joining in." I smiled because Phyllis made it hard not to. Then I asked her about that Wednesday. Her face tightened. "Honey, I thought Quentin brought something," she said. "His name was on the list." "He didn't. I figured that out when I saw your kitchen dark." She sat with me a while. By evening, Doris was back at my table. We had 3 things: the binder, the clinic notes from Naomi's call, and the church meal calendar Pastor Angela had read to me. Doris lined them up. "This one says he promised rides," she said. She touched my appointment page. "This one says money left your account." She touched the binder. "And this one says he promised food." She touched the meal calendar. 3 quiet witnesses. None of them hated my son. That mattered to me, because I still loved Quentin. Love does not turn off like a lamp, not even then. I remembered him at 7, bringing me a cracked mug of water when I came home tired from a double shift. That little boy had loved me. This grown man was hiding behind him. Doris saw my face soften. "Don't do that," she said. "Do what?" "Put the child he was in front of the man he is." I looked down. That hurt because it was true. Then Naomi called back. I almost did not answer. My nerves were tired, but I did. "Mrs. Parker," she said, "one more thing. I checked with transportation. Someone asked whether caregiver mileage credit was available for family members driving a patient." My fingers tightened around the phone. "Who asked?" I cannot accuse," she said carefully. "But the contact information matched your emergency contact." "Quentin." I did not say his name, but it filled the room. Naomi continued, gentle but firm. "We did not process anything because the ride confirmation was incomplete." Ride confirmation. The phrase sounded small. It landed heavy. It froze something deep inside me. The quiet was heavier than shouting. Doris saw my face and stood. "What now?" I put the phone down slowly. "He wanted credit," I said. "For what?" I looked at the calendars spread across my table. For care he had not given. Doris did not speak for a long moment. Outside, Charleston evening settled soft and pretty against the windows. Then Doris picked up the meal calendar again. "If he wanted credit for caring, Althea," she said, We need to find out what else he wanted credit for. The next time I had a clinic check, I did something I had never done before. I did not ask Quentin for a ride. I called Naomi Clark. That may sound small to you. It was not small to me. A mother can raise a whole child, work aching feet into retirement, survive sickness twice, and still feel ashamed asking a stranger to do what her own son promised. Naomi did not make me feel that shame. She met me near the front desk with a clipboard and a calm smile. "Mrs. Parker, your ride home is confirmed," she said. "No waiting in the lobby today." Those words touched something sore. No waiting. I nodded like it was ordinary. Inside, it felt like someone had placed a chair under me before I fell. The check itself was simple. Blood pressure, weight, a few questions about nausea, appetite, sleep. I answered like the woman I was trying to remain, steady, polite, not too much trouble. When Naomi handed me a brochure for patient transportation and a small pantry list for treatment weeks, I almost pushed it back. "I don't want to take from someone worse off," I said. She looked at me over the paper. "Assistance is not charity when it keeps you alive for treatment." I folded the brochure and put it in my purse. That was the first help I accepted without apologizing for needing it. Outside, the air smelled like rain on warm pavement. My ride was not there yet, so I waited under the clinic awning with my scarf tied low and my purse held close. Then I heard Sabrina's voice. She was near a parked car, one hand pressed to her ear, speaking fast and low. "No, Quentin, I know. But you said not to upset her before the premium clears." My body went still. Not my hands. Not my knees. Something deeper. Sabrina turned and saw me. For a second, she looked like a child caught with a match in her hand. Then she smiled too quickly. "Mama Althea, I didn't know you were here." "It is a clinic," I said. "I come here sometimes." Her smile broke at the edges. She stepped closer, lowering her phone. "I was just talking about household stuff, bills. You know how it is." "What premium?" She blinked. "Nothing important." "Then say it." That was the first time I heard my own voice sound like my mother's. Sabrina looked past me toward the clinic doors, as if someone might come rescue her from the truth before it formed. "It's just one of Quentin's reminders," she said. "He worries about paperwork with you being sick." With me being sick, not for me being sick. There is a difference. I let the silence sit between us. Finally, Sabrina softened her voice the way she always did when she wanted a hard thing to look gentle. "We were trying to protect you, and Janelle too. Quentin thought too many visitors might upset you." "Did you ask me that?" She did not answer. "Did you ask whether I wanted protecting from my own granddaughter?" Her mouth opened, closed. A car pulled up for my ride. The driver waved from behind the windshield. Sabrina grabbed the chance. "You should go rest," she said. "We can talk when you feel better." I looked at her then. Really looked. Sabrina was not a monster. That would have made this simple. She looked tired, scared, and cornered by a life she could not afford. But fear can make decent people hold the door while someone else does the stealing. I stepped toward the car. Before I got in, I said, "Tell Quentin I heard the word premium." Her face lost color. Good. Not because I wanted to hurt her, because for the first time, someone in that house knew I was listening. When I got home, Doris was already on my porch with 2 paper cups of ginger tea and a face full of questions. I said, "She mentioned a premium." Doris did not ask who. She knew. We went straight to the kitchen. The yellow binder waited on the table where I had left it. The afternoon light fell across the cracked cover, soft as forgiveness, and just as hard to trust. Doris opened to the back section. Life insurance. I put my palm on the page before she could lift the envelope. "Not all the way," I said. "Not yet." Because I knew if we opened that notice fully, something would change that could not be put back. Doris nodded. Then we read what we can see. The envelope was recent. My name sat in the little clear window. The premium due date was printed near the bottom of the notice inside, just visible enough to make my stomach tighten. The same week Sabrina had mentioned. The same week, Quentin had suddenly started asking whether my papers were organized. I remembered his voice at my kitchen sink. "Mama, with treatment and all, make sure nothing important lapses." At the time, I had thought that was concern. Now it sounded like timing. Doris pulled out her glasses and leaned closer. "Althea," she said slowly, "before we cancel anything, we need to know who benefits if this keeps getting paid." I sat down. The house was quiet except for the refrigerator humming. For years, I had believed the cruelest thing was being forgotten in a clinic lobby. But that evening, looking at that unopened notice, I understood something worse. Maybe Quentin had not forgotten everything. Maybe he remembered exactly the things that paid him. Before I tell you what Doris found on the next page, tell me something. Have you ever kept paying for someone because you were afraid stopping would make you look cruel? Write "paid" or stopped in the comments. Because that day, I learned a hard truth. Love can help a person stand, but it should not let them stand on your chest. I did not answer. I looked at the binder and understood why paper scared people who needed silence. Paper did not cry. Paper did not forget. It waited until I was ready now. Doris touched the edge of the envelope. Then she whispered, "Tomorrow, we open it, and we find out whose future your sickness was protecting." Doris came back the next morning with her calculator and 2 folders. That was how I knew she meant business. She placed everything on my kitchen table like a church audit. "Today," she said, "we are not guessing. We are lining up dates." I had slept maybe 3 hours. Chemo sleep is not real sleep. Still, when Doris opened that yellow binder, my mind sharpened. Truth wakes faster than coffee. We did not touch the life insurance envelope yet. Not first. Doris said, "If that notice is the locked room, we start with the hallway." So we built the hallway. On one sheet, I wrote "care calendar." On another, "payment calendar." My handwriting looked thinner, but it was still mine. Doris read from the clinic notes Naomi Clark had helped me understand. No medical details, just ride truth. Treatment day. Pickup delayed. Emergency contact did not answer. Patient waited. I wrote it down steady. Then we opened the binder to the same week. Truck insurance paid. I wrote that too. The next line came from Pastor Angela Cross in the meal calendar. Wednesday dinner, Quentin Parker, canceled by text. Same week. Utility arrangement paid. Doris read another date. Lab check. No ride confirmed. Same date. Family phone plan paid. My red pen hovered above the paper. "Keep going," Doris said. I did. Storage unit paid. Mortgage help paid. Choir fee paid. Each line was not enough by itself. Any one payment could be excused. Any one missed ride could be called a hard week. But together, they stopped sounding like hardship. They sounded like design. Doris turned the calculator toward me. I did not look away this time. Over $2,000 a month, not including small things I had forgotten to write down. Gas money, groceries, a little transfer because Janelle needed black shoes for choir. I sat back. "That cannot be right," I said. Doris tapped the binder. "Then tell the paper it is lying." I could not, because paper had been kinder to me than memory. My memory wanted to protect Quentin. It kept offering excuses, placing them in front of the facts like napkins over stains. Paper showed the stain. My phone buzzed. A text followed. "Mama," Sabrina said, "you seemed upset. Please do not make emotional decisions before we talk." I stared at the words. Emotional decisions. That is what people say when they want your pain to look unreliable and their comfort to look reasonable. Doris read it over my shoulder. "Funny," she said. "He trusts your emotions when they make you pay." I put the phone face down. Then I opened the mortgage section. That was the page that changed my breathing. Quentin had told me the mortgage help was for 2 months. He said commission would catch up by the end of winter. He said he hated asking. He said he would never make a habit of it. 7 transfers stared back at me. Same amount, same date window, same little note I had typed the first time, bridge help. I had written it to remind myself this was temporary. The bank had not understood temporary. It had only understood permission. My permission. A strange calm came over me then. Not peace. Something colder. I realized Quentin did not need to steal from me in the old-fashioned way. He only needed me to stay tired, grateful to be needed, and too ashamed to ask why nothing ever ended. My son had missed my chemo ride twice, but not one payment I made for him had ever missed its date. That sentence formed inside me before I said it out loud. When I did, Doris put her hand over mine. "There it is," she said. "What?" "The truth that finally sounds like you." I looked down at the 2 pages. Care calendar, payment calendar. On one side, empty chairs, cold soup, unanswered calls, a granddaughter kept away. On the other, insurance, phones, storage, utilities, mortgage, fees. The calendars did not shout. They compared. That comparison gave me back something I did not know I had surrendered, power. Not power over Quentin's life. I did not want that. It gave me power over mine. I took the red pen and wrote beside the truck insurance, cancel May 1st. Beside the phone plan, I wrote, separate. Beside the storage unit, transfer responsibility. Beside utilities, no further payment. Beside mortgage help, ends May 1st. At Janelle's choir fee, I stopped. Doris did not rush me. That child had done nothing wrong. I would not punish her for needing music. So I wrote, direct pay only. No Quentin. Doris smiled for the first time that morning. That sounds like justice with a seatbelt on. I almost laughed. Then Quentin called again. This time I answered. Mama, he said quickly, we need to talk before this turns into something ugly." "It is already ugly," I said. "I just stopped decorating it." His voice lowered. "Are you with Doris?" The question told me enough. He was not worried about my health. He was worried there was a witness. "Yes." "Mama, you know how hard things have been. You know I am trying to keep my family together." "I know," I said. "I have the receipts." He breathed out sharply. "Receipts do not tell the whole story." "No," I said, "but they tell the part you hoped I would be too sick to read." That was the first time Quentin had nothing ready. For years, he had always had a sentence waiting. Work pressure. Family pressure. Sabrina worried. Janelle needed. Mama understood. But a receipt does not argue back. It simply exists. "I will come by tonight," he said. "No, Mama, not tonight. You cannot just cancel things without talking to me." I looked at the words I had written in red. I thought of the clinic lobby. I thought of Janelle's small voice. Then I said, "Watch me do exactly that." I hung up before he could turn my firmness into cruelty. Doris sat very still. Then she nodded once. My eyes moved to the back of the binder. Life insurance. The white envelope waited under that tab, quiet and clean, like it had not been sitting beside every ugly thing we had found. My strength faded a little. Doris noticed. "Leave that for tomorrow," she said. I touched the edge of the envelope. It felt thin for something that made the room so heavy. Doris closed the binder halfway, then stopped. "Althea," she said, "that one is not just a bill." I looked at her. She looked back at me, serious as Sunday morning. "That one is a question." The next evening, I did not open the life insurance envelope. Not because I had forgotten, because my body had remembered chemo before my mind could get brave. Some days, cancer does not announce itself with pain. It just makes the room longer. The kitchen feels farther from the chair. The spoon feels heavier than it has any right to be. Even soup becomes a negotiation. Phyllis had left a container of chicken soup by my door with a note that said, "Eat 3 bites before you argue with me." I smiled at that. Then I ate 2. The third stayed on the spoon until I put it back in the bowl. I was sitting in my recliner with the navy scarf loose around my head when my phone lit up. It was a message from Phyllis. "Thought you might want to see your girl sing." Under it was a live stream link. For a moment, I did not understand. Then I saw the title. Spring Youth Choir Fundraiser. Janelle's Choir. My heart moved before my hand did. I clicked. The video opened sideways at first, then corrected itself. The sound crackled. Somebody near the phone whispered too loudly. The church lights made everything look a little gold and a little tired. Then Janelle stepped into view. My granddaughter wore a black skirt, white blouse, and the choir scarf I had paid for. Her hair was pulled back with a ribbon. She looked nervous in the way young people look when they are trying to become themselves in front of a room. I sat forward. The soup cooled beside me. She began to sing. Lord, that child had a voice. Not perfect, better than perfect, real. There was a small tremble in the first line, then strength came up under it like a hand beneath a chin. I should have been there. That thought did not arrive gently. It entered the room and stood right in front of me. I had paid the choir fee. I had paid the uniform cost. I had asked Sabrina twice whether there were any church dates I should know about, and she had said, "We will let you know when you feel stronger. When you feel stronger." That is a soft way of saying later, until later becomes never. The camera moved across the room. I saw rows of folding chairs, church fans, mothers holding programs, fathers leaning against the back wall. I saw Sabrina near the aisle. Then I saw Quentin. He was standing with his arms crossed, looking proud. Proud. As if he had carried the whole song there himself. My stomach turned, and it was not the chemo. Janelle finished the first song. People clapped. She looked out into the room, scanning faces. I knew that look. Children look for the person they hope came, even when they were told not to expect them. She did not find me. I pressed my fingers to my mouth. A woman can survive a lot by telling herself she understands. I understood bills. I understood pressure. I understood a grown man being afraid of losing his house. But I did not understand making a child sing in a room her grandmother paid to help her enter. While convincing that child, the grandmother chose absence. After the live stream ended, I stayed still. The room had gone dark around the edges. The soup had formed a skin on top. My scarf had slipped halfway onto my shoulder. Then my phone rang. Janelle. I answered too late. It went to voicemail. I played it with both hands around the phone. "Grandma, Dad said you did not want me to see you sick. I tried to understand. I did. But tonight I kept looking for you. Did I make you feel ashamed?" The last word cracked. Ashamed. I stood too fast and the room tilted. The navy scarf slid from my head and fell onto the chair. I picked it up and threw it down again. Not at Janelle. Never at Janelle. At the lie. At the careful, comfortable lie that had sat between us wearing my son's voice. I had been tired before. I had been hurt before. But that voicemail took me to the floor inside myself. I sat back down and cried into my hands. Quietly at first, then not quietly. There are tears you can manage, and there are tears that have been waiting behind every swallowed sentence. That night, I understood he had not only abandoned me at treatment, he had taught my granddaughter how to explain my absence. When the tears passed, something in me felt clean and empty. I wiped my face. I picked up the scarf. Then I walked to the kitchen. The yellow binder waited on the table. I opened it. No trembling now. I turned to the payment calendar and wrote beside the choir section, "Direct pay, Janelle only. No Quentin." Then I turned back through the other pages. Truck insurance, cancel May 1st, phone plan, separate, utilities, stop, storage unit, transfer, mortgage help, end. Each word looked harsh until I remembered the clinic lobby. Then each word looked honest. I was not cutting off love. I was cutting off the road my love had been used to travel without me. Near midnight, I called Doris. She answered on the second ring, like she had been waiting beside the phone. "You all right?" "No," I said, "but I am clear." That is sometimes better. I looked at the back tab of the binder. Life insurance. The white envelope waited, still unopened. "Tomorrow," I said, "we open the life insurance notice." Doris was silent for one breath. Then her voice came low and steady. Then tomorrow, Althea, we find out what your son was waiting for. Doris arrived the next morning without tea. That was how I knew she was worried. Usually she brought ginger tea or crackers. That morning she brought only her glasses and a pen. The yellow binder sat on my kitchen table with the life insurance tab showing. My scarf was tied neatly. I looked prepared for paperwork. Inside, I felt like a child outside the principal's office. Doris sat across from me. "You ready?" "No." "Good," she said. "Ready people miss details." The envelope made a soft sound when I pulled it free. Thin paper, white, ordinary. Certain envelopes should come with thunder. But my name was in the window. Althea Parker. My name had fed people, stretched paychecks, and written checks nobody thanked me for. Now it sat on a notice I was afraid to open. I slit the envelope with a butter knife. Doris did not rush me. The first page was the premium notice. The amount was not large. A small payment can keep a big expectation alive. Premium due. Policy active. Automatic payment scheduled. I read those words, then looked at Doris. She pointed to the second page. Keep going. The policy summary was folded behind it. I unfolded it slowly. There it was. Primary beneficiary, Quentin Parker. Contingent beneficiary, none listed. For a moment, the kitchen went far away. I had meant to change that. Years earlier, I had put a sticky note in the binder. Update beneficiary after Janelle gets older. Then cancer came back. Treatment started. Bills stacked up. I got tired. And the paper waited. Paper always waits. Quentin had not waited. He had remembered the premium. I thought of Sabrina's voice in the parking lot. Before the premium clears. I thought of Quentin at my sink, telling me not to let important papers lapse while I was dealing with treatment. Important papers. Not treatment, not rides, not soup. Papers. Doris took off her glasses. Althea. I held up one hand. If she comforted me too soon, I might break. He did not have to want me gone, I said. Doris stayed quiet. That is the part people will not understand. I do not think my son sat somewhere wishing me dead. My voice shook, but it stayed mine. I think he got comfortable imagining what my death might solve. That sentence emptied the room. Doris took my hand. She said, "Baby, he remembered the paper that pays after you are gone better than the appointment that keeps you here." I closed my eyes. That was the line I had been trying not to hear. After a while, I called the insurance company. The hold music was cheerful in a way that felt disrespectful. When a representative answered, I gave the information she asked for. "How can I help you today, Mrs. Parker?" "I need to confirm my beneficiary." A keyboard clicked. "Your primary beneficiary is Quentin Parker." "And I can change that." "Yes, ma'am. We can send the form by mail or email. It may require signature verification." "Send both." The representative explained the steps, forms, signatures, processing time. That was all I needed. Revenge, real revenge, often sounds like customer service when a woman finally knows what to ask. I requested the change form. Then I asked a second question. If I want part of the benefit directed for my granddaughter's education and part to a community cancer transportation fund, what do I need? The representative explained options. Trust paperwork. Named beneficiary. Legal guidance recommended. I wrote everything down, not because I understood all of it yet, because I was no longer leaving blank spaces for Quentin to fill. After we hung up, I called Pastor Angela Cross. I asked whether the church care ministry could support a cancer ride fund if I completed the proper paperwork. She grew very quiet. Then she said, "Althea, are you safe?" That question reached me differently. Safe. Not comfortable. Not polite. Safe. "I am now," I said. "I am checking." Next, I called Naomi Clark and asked what transportation programs accepted donations. Naomi did not pry. She gave me contacts and one sentence I wrote in the margin. "Help works best when it reaches the patient without making them beg." By noon, the binder looked different. The life insurance notice sat on top. Beside it were notes for beneficiary change, direct payment for Janelle's choir, and transportation support. My anger had learned how to hold a pen. Then Quentin called. I watched his name flash on my phone. Doris looked at me. "Your choice," I answered. "Mama," he said, "Sabrina told me you upset her at the clinic." I almost laughed. He had abandoned me, let my granddaughter believe I was ashamed, taken credit for care he did not give, and now Sabrina was upset. "Quentin," I said, "tomorrow you and Sabrina need to meet me at the fellowship hall." His voice tightened. "Why?" "Bring your calendar." What is that supposed to mean? It means I am done explaining pain without paperwork. Mama, don't make a money situation look like abandonment. There it was, the fear beneath the polish. He knew, maybe not all of it, but he knew the shape of what he had done. I looked at the care calendar, then the payment calendar, then the notice with my name on it. "This is not a money situation," I said. "This is a memory situation. Yours seems to work fine for due dates." He went quiet. Finally, he said, "We can talk privately." "We did that for months," I said. "It protected the wrong person." Doris closed her eyes, praying or trying not to cheer. Quentin's voice lowered. "Are you trying to embarrass me?" "No," I said. "I am trying to stop disappearing." I hung up again. That evening, Doris helped me place the papers in order. Care calendar, payment calendar, clinic ride notes, meal calendar, choir receipts, storage proof, mortgage transfers, life insurance notice, not a pile, a timeline. A woman can be called bitter when she cries. She can be called confused when she forgets. She can be called dramatic when she finally speaks, but a timeline has a harder time being insulted. Before Doris left, I placed the notice on top of the binder. "Tomorrow," I said, "I am not bringing anger." Doris looked at me. "What are you bringing?" "Both calendars. Care and payment?" "Care and payment," I said. Let him explain which one he remembered better. The fellowship hall smelled like coffee, paper plates, and warm cornbread. For most of my life, church halls meant fish fries, choir rehearsals, repasts, and women laughing in kitchens. That afternoon, it meant it. Pastor Angela Cross did not call it a meeting to shame my son. She called it a family conversation with witnesses. I appreciated that. Shame likes a crowd. Truth only needs the right people. Doris sat on my left with my yellow binder between us. Naomi Clark sat near the end of the table. She was there because I had given permission for her to speak only about rides and transportation support. Not my private medical details, just the truth about waiting. Then Quentin walked in. Sabrina came behind him, quiet. Janelle followed last. That hurt the most. She looked at me like she wanted to run into my arms and also did not know whether she had been invited. I opened my hand. She came close enough for me to touch her fingers. Quentin pulled his shoulders back. "Mom," he said, "this should have stayed in the family." "It did stay in the family," I said. "That was how it got this bad." Pastor Angela bowed her head for one short prayer. She prayed for courage. Then I placed 2 stacks of paper on the table: care calendar, payment calendar. Quentin's eyes moved from one to the other. Doris adjusted her glasses. "Althea asked me to read some dates," she said, "because chemo has made her tired, not confused." She began. March 18th, treatment pickup delayed. Emergency contact did not answer. Same week, truck insurance paid. Quentin shifted. March 25th, meal delivery signed up under Quentin Parker, canceled. Same week, utility arrangement paid. Sabrina looked down. April 2nd, lab ride not confirmed. Phone plan paid. Doris turned a page. April 11th, choir fundraiser not shared with Althea. Choir fee paid. Janelle's face changed. She looked at me, then at her father. "You paid that?" I nodded. "Directly or through your parents, depending on what they told me was needed." Her lips parted, but no sound came. That silence was the first real consequence in the room. Quentin leaned forward. "Mama, you know things were hard. I never said we weren't under pressure." "I know pressure," I said. "I raised you under it." His face softened for half a second. Then I continued. "But pressure does not make a man tell his child that her grandmother does not want her." Janelle turned to him. "Dad, you told me she didn't want me to see her." Quentin rubbed his forehead. "I was trying to protect you." "From Grandma?" she asked. He had no answer ready for that. Naomi spoke next, calm and careful. "With Mrs. Parker's permission, I can confirm she was eligible for transportation assistance. Our staff noted delays and waiting periods because she believed family pickup was coming." She did not accuse. The word waiting did enough. Phyllis lifted one finger. "And I brought soup on a night her meal was supposed to come from family, because her kitchen was dark and that pot on the stove looked lonely." Sabrina finally spoke. "We were overwhelmed." I turned to her. "I believe that." She blinked. "I believe you were scared. I believe the mortgage was heavy. I believe bills made your house feel like it was leaning. But you let my sickness become a curtain, and you stood behind it." Quentin pushed back from the table. "So this is punishment?" "No," I said. "This is responsibility going home." I opened the binder and read the changes I had already made. Truck insurance canceled. Storage unit transferred to Quentin's responsibility. Phone plan separation requested. Utility arrangement stopped. Mortgage bridge help ending May 1st. Janelle's choir fee moved direct payment through the youth program. No more family payments through Quentin. His face lost color line by line. "You did all that." "I did." "You should have talked to me." "I tried needing you," I said. "You called it privacy." Then I placed the life insurance notice on top of the binder. I also submitted the beneficiary change forms. They are processing. You are no longer the person I intend to leave in charge of what remains." Sabrina's hand went to her mouth. Quentin stared at the envelope like it had betrayed him. Janelle whispered, "Was I part of that too?" "You are part of what I am protecting," I told her, "not what he gets to manage." She started crying then, quietly. Quentin looked at his daughter. Something in him shifted. Not enough to fix him, enough to crack the story he had been hiding inside. "I didn't want you scared," he said to her. "You made me think she was ashamed of me," Janelle said. "No, baby, no. But you did." Then I gave the conditions. If Quentin wanted any road back, he would apologize to Janelle without blaming stress. He would attend caregiver support sessions. He would make his own payment plan. He would stop using me as a secret bridge over his bills. And if I allowed him to take me to treatment again, it would be because he showed up honestly, not because my money made him comfortable. Sabrina had her own condition. No more accepting meals, gifts, or help meant for me. No more speaking for what I wanted unless she had asked me first. Pastor Angela wrote everything down. Doris closed the binder. The sound was small. It felt final. Afterward, Quentin followed me to the door. For once, he did not sound polished. "Do I still get to drive you next week?" I looked at my son. I still loved him, but love had learned to stand behind a boundary now. "Not next week," I said. "First, you learn how to show up without being paid by my fear." His eyes lowered, and for the first time in his adult life, my son had to learn the difference between being needed and being trusted. 3 weeks after that meeting, my bank account was quieter. That may not sound like healing, but it was. No truck insurance slipped out before breakfast. No storage payment disappeared while I was at treatment. No mortgage bridge left my savings while my hands were too tired to open mail. Silence can feel like loss when you are used to being drained. Quentin had to make his own calls. He spoke with the lender. He moved the storage unit into his name, then sold what he should have sold months earlier. The phone plan was separated. The utility arrangement became his responsibility. None of that made him crueler. It made him adult. Janelle's choir fee stayed paid, but directly through the youth program. No middleman, no hidden story. No child wondering whether love had forgotten her. The insurance change took longer, as paperwork does. Forms, signatures, verification. A confirmation letter finally arrived saying the beneficiary update had been processed. A portion was set aside for Janelle's education, and the rest was directed toward a cancer transportation fund Pastor Angela helped organize. I kept that letter in the yellow binder because I wanted to remember what clarity feels like. Quentin started caregiver support on a Tuesday night. He did not come home changed after one meeting. People rarely do. At first, he sat with his arms folded and said very little. The second week, he called me afterward and said, "Mama, I think I used being overwhelmed as an excuse to disappear." I did not rush to comfort him. I said, "Then stop disappearing." That was enough. Sabrina wrote me a letter. It was awkward, careful, and not nearly as pretty as her usual words. That made it better. She admitted she had accepted help meant for me. She admitted she had let fear make her quiet. I have not forgotten, but I did read it twice. Forgiveness, for me, is not a door thrown open. It is a porch light left on while someone learns how to knock properly. Janelle came over after choir practice one evening with a paper plate of cornbread and a nervous smile. "Grandma," she asked, "were you ashamed of me seeing you sick?" I took her hand. "No, baby. I was only ashamed that grown people let you believe love had left the room." She cried then. So did I. But those tears did not feel like the ones from before. They cleaned something. Eventually, Quentin drove me to one appointment, not because I needed him. Naomi had my ride confirmed. Doris was on backup. I let him drive because he had attended support meetings, apologized to Janelle without blaming pressure, and stopped asking what I was still paying. He sat in the waiting room the whole time. No performance, no phone calls about bills. When he took me home, he said, "Can I come next time?" I looked out at Charleston's sunlight on the windshield. "We will see," I told him. Trust comes back like appetite after chemo. Slowly. At church, we started a workshop called Check Your Auto Pay Before You Need It. Doris brought her calculator. Pastor Angela brought sign-up sheets. Naomi brought ride resources. Phyllis brought soup and warned everybody that her pepper had been supervised. I brought the yellow binder. I told the women there what I learned. Check what leaves your account every month. Temporary help needs an end date. If you want to help a grandchild, pay the school, the program, or the bill directly. Keep receipts. Keep calendars. Do not let guilt become a payment plan. And never let someone call your absence privacy when you are actually waiting to be loved out loud. Cancer took enough from me. I was not going to let my child take the rest and call it care. I did not cancel those payments because I stopped loving my son. I canceled them because love was never supposed to make me disappear. Thank you for watching and sitting with my story today. Please tell me in the comments where you are watching from and what time it is where you are right now. If this story touched you, even a little, please subscribe to Final Act Revenge. Another story is waiting for you on your screen. YouTube thinks you may enjoy it, so take care of yourself, settle in, and enjoy.